0200 hours. Deep beneath the South China Sea, the ocean floor is a jagged landscape of black rock and silt, crushed under millions of tons of water. The attack submarine moves through the darkness like a predatory shadow. Inside the pressure hull, the air is cool and recycled. Red tactical lighting bathes the control room in the color of blood. Sailors sit motionless at their stations, faces illuminated only by the green glow of sonar screens and digital readouts. The only sound is the low, rhythmic thrum of the nuclear reactor and the faint hiss of ventilation. The crew breathes shallowly. They wait. The submarine is a coiled spring, silent and deadly, creeping toward the hostile coastline. Suddenly, the silence breaks. The captain steps to the center of the control room. He grips the overhead railing. His knuckles turn white. He nods to the officer of the deck. The command is given. The mood shifts instantly from passive observation to aggressive action. Battle stations, the announcement cracks over the ship-wide speakers. The alarm klaxon screams. The sound is sharp, piercing, designed to wake the dead. Sailors bolt from their bunks in the berthing compartments. Feet hammer against metal grating as they sprint to their posts. Watertight doors slam shut with heavy metallic thuds. Locking wheels spin, sealing the compartments. The submarine tilts upward, the deck angling steeply as the helmsman pulls back on the yoke. The massive vessel begins its ascent, rising through the crushing depths toward the launch window. The steel hull groans and pops under the changing pressure, a sound like a hammer striking an anvil. In the weapons center, the fire control team works with terrified precision. Fingers blur across keyboards. Target coordinates stream across the monitors in waterfalls of amber text. The weapons officer inserts a physical key into the launch console. He turns it. A sharp click echoes in the cramped space. Tubes 1 through 12, flood and equalize, the officer barks. Outside the hull, the outer doors of the vertical launch system slide open. The sound is a low, mechanical grind that vibrates through the deck plates. Seawater rushes into the firing tubes, swirling around the warheads of the cruise missiles. The submarine shudders as the weight distribution shifts. The helmsman fights the controls, wrestling the 80,000-ton beast to keep it level. Sweat beads on his forehead. He wipes it away with a trembling hand, eyes locked on the depth gauge. The needle climbs. 400 feet, 300 feet, 200 feet. Hover, the captain orders.
Hover.
Maintain depth. 150 feet. The submarine slows. The propeller stops its rhythmic beating. The vessel hangs suspended in the black water, just beneath the turbulent surface layers. The hydraulic pumps whine as the ballast tanks trim the ship for firing. The fire control screens flash from red to green. The ready indicators light up one by one, a deadly line of confirmation. The weapons officer grips the firing trigger. His breathing is heavy. The air in the room feels thick, charged with static electricity. Every man in the control room freezes. They stare at the captain. The silence returns, but now it is heavy, suffocating. The hull creaks one last time as the current pushes against the rudder. The targeting solution is locked. The missiles are armed. The fuse is lit. 2015 hours, submerged firing point. The ocean remains a crushing black void. Inside the submarine, the air is still. The crew grips their consoles. The weapons officer squeezes the trigger. The electronic signal races through the copper wiring. A solenoid clicks open. High-pressure air detonates into the launch tube. Thoom! The sound is a dull, heavy, sledgehammer blow against the hull. The entire submarine shudders violently. The floor plates rattle against the steel frame. In the water outside, a massive bubble of compressed air expands explosively, tearing the cruise missile from its silo. The weapon shoots upward through the dark water, encased in a shroud of chaotic bubbles. 10 feet above the submarine, the missile's sensors detect the separation. The waterproof seal on the rear of the weapon shatters. the solid rocket booster, ignites. Roar! A jet of white-hot fire erupts underwater. The ocean instantly boils. Steam and bubbles explode outward in a violent cloud. The missile accelerates, fighting the drag of the water, streaking toward the surface like a meteor in reverse. On the surface, the ocean heaves. The water bulges upward. Then, the surface tears open. The nose of the cruise missile punches through the waves, shedding gallons of seawater. The booster screams, a jagged tongue of flame lighting up the pitch-black night. Smoke pours from the tail, thick and white. The missile climbs straight up, hanging on a pillar of fire. Inside the control room, the deck shakes again. And again. "Tube 2, away!" the officer shouts. "Tube 3, away!" Thoom, thoom. More missiles eject. The rhythm is brutal. The submarine bucks like a wild animal with each launch. Loose pens roll across the chart tables. Dust shakes loose from overhead pipes. The sonar display washes out in a blizzard of noise as the boosters ignite one after another. Above, the night sky transforms. 12 pillars of fire pierce the darkness. The roar is deafening, rolling across the empty waves like thunder. The missiles reach their apex. The boosters burn out and jettison, falling back to the ocean with a heavy splash. Small turbojet engines spool up with a high-pitched whine. Wings snap open like switchblades. The weapons tip over, leveling out, and begin their hunt. 0218 hours. Low altitude over the South China Sea. The night air is cold and thick with salt spray. The ocean below is an endless sheet of black, moving water. Low clouds obscure the moon. The only light comes from the faint bioluminescence of the churning waves. The silence of the open ocean is absolute. A high-pitched mechanical whine cuts through the wind. A dark shape tears through a cloud bank. The lead cruise missile levels off at 400 miles per hour. Its stubby wings are locked in place. The intake vent gulps air, feeding the small turbojet engine buried deep in the fuselage. The engine screams at full throttle. The weapon drops altitude. Fast. It plunges toward the water, a suicide dive. At the last second, the guidance computer snaps the elevators up. The nose lifts. The missile flattens out, skimming just 10 feet above the cresting waves. The wake from its exhaust kicks up a rooster tail of spray that coats the sensor lens. The digital eye blinks, wiping the image clear. Ahead, a jagged limestone karst rises from the sea like a giant tooth. The missile does not slow down. It banks hard right. G-forces load the airframe. Aluminum skin groans under the stress. It whips around the stone face, missing the rock by inches. The sound of its passing echoes off the cliff face. A momentary thunderclap that vanishes into the wind. 11 more missiles follow in its wake. They fly in a loose formation, a wolf pack of steel and high explosives. They hug the curvature of the earth, invisible to long-range radar. The coastline appears on the horizon, a darker shadow against the night sky. The internal map updates. The target is locked. 0224 hours. Island Outpost Command Center. The radar room is dimly lit by the hum of cooling fans and the glow of cathode ray tubes. The massive search radar on the roof rotates with a rhythmic mechanical grind. Inside, the night shift operator leans back in his chair. His eyes are heavy. A half-eaten meal sits on the console. The green sweep line circles the display, painting the empty ocean over and over again. Ping! A single pixel lights up on the edge of the screen. The operator blinks. He sits up. The sweep circles again. Ping! 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 12 distinct contacts materialize. They are moving at incredible speed, hugging the waves. The operator's heart hammers against his ribs. He lunges for the microphone. He smashes the red button on the desk. Inbound! Inbound missiles! Sector South! His voice cracks. He flips the plastic cover off the general quarters switch and slams it down. Outside, the air raid siren begins to wind up. It starts as a low moan, then rises to a terrifying, ear-splitting scream that echoes off the concrete bunkers. The sound tears through the quiet night. In the barracks, the lights snap on. It is instant chaos. Soldiers roll out of bunks, hitting the floor hard. They grab rifles and helmets. Boots stomp on the concrete floor. Men shout orders over the wail of the siren. A door kicks open. A squad spills out into the courtyard, sprinting toward the defensive berms. One soldier trips, skids across the gravel, and scrambles back to his feet. On the perimeter, the automated defense systems wake up. The hydraulic motors of the anti-air Gatling guns whine as the turrets spin rapidly, searching for targets. Searchlights snap on, sweeping the dark horizon with blinding white beams. The beams cut through the mist, hunting for the incoming shapes. A commander runs onto the balcony of the command tower. He raises his binoculars. He sees them. 12 streaks of fire skimming the water, growing larger by the second. "Open fire!" he screams into his radio. "Engage all targets!" The Gatling guns roar to life. A wall of tracer fire erupts from the base, stitching the night sky with lines of glowing orange lead. O2 25 hours. Island outpost perimeter. The air above the base is a chaotic storm of noise and light. The anti-air Gatling guns scream, spitting thousands of rounds per minute. Tracer fire cuts bright orange lines through the darkness. The smell of burning gunpowder is thick and choking. Spent brass casings rain down on the concrete like hail. The lead cruise missile jinks left, then right. A wall of lead catches it. The missile disintegrates in midair. The warhead detonates early, creating a massive fireball that illuminates the beach. Shrapnel sprays the water, sizzling as it hits the waves. But there are too many targets. The defense is overwhelmed. The second missile slips through the barrage. It pulls up sharply, climbing the cliff face. It levels out, aiming directly for the white geodesic sphere of the main radar dome. Crack, boom. The impact is absolute. The missile punches through the fiberglass shell and detonates inside. The explosion blows the dome apart from the inside out. Jagged shards of white plastic fly like shrapnel. The spinning radar antenna inside is vaporized. A mushroom cloud of black smoke and orange flame erupts from the roof of the command center. Simultaneously, 2 more missiles strike the communications tower. They hit the base of the steel lattice structure. The high explosive warheads shear through the support beams. The metal screeches, a high-pitched sound of torture. The 1,000-foot tower shudders violently. It lists to the side. Gravity takes over. The massive steel skeleton collapses. It crashes down onto the roof of the barracks block. Concrete crumbles into dust. The heavy steel beams crush the roof, flattening the upper floor. Inside the command bunker, the screens flicker and die. The tactical map goes black. The radio speakers erupt in a harsh hiss of static. The commander screams into his handset, but there is no reply. The base is blind. The base is deaf. O2 26 hours. Logistics sector. Island outpost. The night is no longer dark. The burning radar tower casts a flickering orange glow over the logistics yard. Sirens are drowned out by the roar of the fire. Soldiers sprint across the tarmac, dragging hoses and shouting orders. A fuel truck revs its engine, tires spinning on the gravel. As the driver tries to move the volatile vehicle away from the danger zone, the second wave of missiles screams in over the tree line. They fly lower, barely clearing the perimeter fence. The lead missile slams directly into the side of fuel storage tank Alpha. Kaboom! 300,000 gallons of jet fuel ignite in a nanosecond. The steel skin of the tank rips open like paper. A massive sphere of fire expands outward, rolling over the ground. It engulfs the fleeing fuel truck. The vehicle vanishes inside the inferno. The driver has no time to scream. The shockwave hits the surrounding soldiers, lifting them off their feet and hurling them backward into the dirt. Liquid fire sprays across the depot. It splashes onto the adjacent tanks. Heat blisters the paint. Metal groans and warps. Then, the second tank ruptures. A secondary explosion rocks the island, sending a column of black smoke thousands of feet into the air. 200 yards away, the final pair of missiles dive toward the ammunition bunkers. These warheads are different. They strike the reinforced concrete doors. They do not explode immediately. The hardened steel noses punch through the concrete, smashing into the interior. A split second later, the delay fuses trigger. The ground heaves. It looks like an earthquake. The concrete roof of the bunker cracks open. A jet of white fire shoots straight up from the breach, followed by a shockwave that flattens the nearby fence line. Crack, crack, boom. The munitions inside begin to cook off. Artillery shells detonate in a chain reaction. The bunker disintegrates. Chunks of concrete the size of cars are thrown through the air, crashing down onto the runway. One slab smashes the wing of a parked fighter jet, snapping the metal spar in half. The aircraft crumples under the weight. The heat is intense. Paint peels off nearby buildings. Soldiers scramble for cover in drainage ditches, covering their heads as debris rains down around them. The logistics sector is gone. It is now a crater of burning chemicals and twisted steel. 0230 hours, 20 miles offshore. The sea is restless. Two massive enemy destroyers patrol in a line abreast, their gray hulls rising and falling with the heavy swell. On the bridge of the lead ship, the officer of the watch grips the railing. He stares at the horizon. The sky to the east is no longer black. It pulses with a sick orange light. The reflection of the burning island dances on the water. The radio channels are a cacophony of screams and static from the dying outpost. "Sonar contact!" a voice barks over the intercom. "Transients detected, bearing 220, range 8 miles. The captain storms onto the bridge. He does not hesitate. "Hard to port!" he roars. "Flank speed, engage with ASROCs." The helmsman spins the wheel. The 50,000 horsepower engines kick into overdrive. The deck vibrates violently. The destroyer leans hard to the left, the hull digging deep into the water. White foam sprays over the bow as the warship carves a tight turn, bringing its weapons to bear on the submarine's position. On the foredeck, the box launcher elevates. The hydraulic motors whine. The cover blows off. Whoosh! A rocket-propelled torpedo erupts from the launcher. The bright yellow flame of the solid fuel motor blinds the bridge crew for a second. The weapon arcs high into the night sky, trailing a thick plume of white smoke. It climbs to 3,000 feet, then tips over, hunting for the water. A second rocket follows, then a third from the trailing destroyer. The weapons plummet toward the ocean's surface. At 500 feet, the rocket motors detach. Parachutes snap open, breaking the descent. The torpedoes splash into the water with a heavy smack. The parachutes cut away. The propellers spin up. Ping, ping, ping. The destroyers activate their hull-mounted active sonar. The sound is high-pitched and terrifyingly loud. It blasts through the water column, a sonic hammer searching for the steel hull of the intruder. The sound waves hit the submarine and bounce back. The hunt is on. 0235 hours. Inside the attack submarine, the control room is bathed in red emergency lighting. The air is thick with tension and the smell of ozone. The crew grips their stations. Ping! The sound hits the hull like a sledgehammer. It is not a noise. It is a physical impact. The steel walls vibrate. Dust shakes loose from the overhead cabling. The active sonar from the destroyer has found them. "Con, sonar, torpedo in the water, bearing 220, high-speed screws," the sonar operator shouts. His voice is tight, bordering on a scream. He rips his headphones off as the volume spikes. The captain reacts instantly. He grabs the overhead microphone. "Emergency deep," he roars. "All ahead flank. Cavitate. Knuckle to starboard." The helmsman shoves the yoke forward with both hands. He slams the throttle levers to the stops. The deck drops out from under the crew. The angle is steep, 30 degrees down. Loose binders and coffee cups slide off the chart tables, crashing against the forward bulkhead. The submarine groans. The steel ribs compress under the mounting pressure. The depth gauge spins. 500 feet. 600 feet. The reactor pumps scream as the propeller bites into the water, churning up a massive wake of bubbles. "Launch countermeasures! Now! Now!" The weapons officer barks. Thump. Thump. Compressed air fires 2 acoustic decoys from the signal ejectors. Outside the hull, the devices tumble into the black water. They activate immediately, emitting a loud, chaotic wall of electronic noise. A siren song designed to lure the hunter. On the sonar waterfall display, a bright streak cuts through the static. The enemy torpedo is closing, fast. The high-pitched whine of its propeller penetrates the hull. It sounds like a circular saw cutting through metal. It grows louder. Louder. The submarine banks hard right. The hull shudders violently as it fights the water resistance. The captain watches the depth gauge. They are passing 800 feet. The hull pops loudly. A bolt shears off a pipe fitting and pings across the room like a bullet. "Torpedo is acquiring!" the sonar operator yells. "It's turning! It's chasing the decoy!" The whine of the torpedo shifts pitch. It passes directly over the submarine's tail. The sound is deafening, filling the control room. Every man freezes. They look up at the ceiling, waiting for the impact. 0300 hours. The deep sound channel. The ocean depth is 1,000 feet. The pressure is immense. 44 atmospheres crushing in from all sides. The darkness is absolute. The enemy torpedo circles above, locking onto the screaming acoustic decoy. Crump. The warhead detonates. A massive bubble of gas expands violently against the crushing water pressure. The shockwave ripples outward at the speed of sound, a solid wall of force moving through the liquid. Inside the submarine, the impact hits like a car crash. The hull rings like a struck bell. Clang! Sailors are thrown against their consoles. A pipe fitting bursts in the engine room, spraying high-pressure hydraulic fluid across the deck. Sparks shower from a shorting electrical panel. The lights flicker and die, replaced instantly by the dim, battery-powered battle lanterns. Shadows stretch long and jagged across the bulkheads. "Report!" the captain barks, wiping blood from a cut on his forehead. "Hull integrity holding," the chief of the boat shouts back. "No leaks detected. We are still watertight." The submarine dives deeper. It pushes past 1,200 feet. The water temperature drops sharply. They hit the thermocline, the boundary layer where cold, deep water meets the warmer upper ocean. This is the shield. The density change creates a wall that reflects sonar waves. The submarine punches through the layer. The hull groans one last time as the metal contracts in the freezing cold. "All stop," the captain whispers. "Rig for ultra quiet." The propeller stops spinning. The reactor pumps cycle down to their lowest setting. The ventilation fans cut out. The submarine becomes a hole in the water, drifting on its momentum. Above the layer, the enemy destroyers circle. Their active sonar pings relentlessly, but the sound waves bounce off the thermal barrier. The screens on the enemy ships show nothing but static and ghosts. The ocean below is empty. Miles away, on the surface, the island outpost is a dying ember. Flames consume the fuel depot, casting a red glow against the low clouds. Smoke columns rise to join the night sky. In the deep trench, the submarine drifts silently into the abyss. It vanishes into the geological clutter of the ocean floor, invisible and untouched.